Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers-McSwine.
We're going to welcome you back to this week's program with the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. And once again, we have the pleasure of having Representative Gregory Porter with us. And Florence, tell us a little bit about this week's show.
Okay, well, this week's show is about, it is about NFB Newsline. However, our special guest today, again, is Representative Gregory Porter, and he's going to talk about some things that are pertinent, things that are going on in the community, and things that are very important to each one of us as citizens. But as far as the NFB Newsline, now we do know that it is a fantastic service. It is a free service. It gives us access to newspapers, magazines, TV guide listings, Walmart, Target circulars. It is a plethora of information. It basically, if it wasn't for NFB Newsline, a lot of the things that are going on as far as the legislature, I wouldn't know about. Things that are going on as far as political things, I would not know about. I have access to the Indianapolis Star, the Indianapolis Recorder, because of NFB Newsline. And so I can read about it, those things, and I can basically stay in touch with what's going on around me, and not just in my community, but global as well. So, Lee, let's talk about.
Yeah, you know, the global portion of it all. You know, we once had a subscriber comment to us that by having access to over 460 national newspapers and local newspapers and 15 international publications and magazines, over 60 magazines, that he just felt like he, again, after losing his sight, had global publications right there at his fingertips. And he enjoys reading the Wall Street Journal every morning now without sight and with a cup of coffee. So it just brings his life back into a normal pattern of accessing information. And there are myriad of ways to access this information. Once again, you can use your landline phone for those that are continuing to use landline. And then you got your smartphones. The Victor Reader Stream, which is very popular within the blind community, and the Braille display for those that are deaf-blind that can use the service. So there's a myriad of ways. The Talking Book and Braille Library through the National Library of Congress has a free device, the digital talking player, so that can be used to access the service as well. So we're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come back with Representative Gregory Porter and enjoy the conversation. Grab this information as it runs across the screen in our commercials.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
Wow, I scored a touchdown when I found sports on NFB Newsline.
I enjoy reading TV guide listings on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind. We read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
You gonna count me down?
We have disabilities.
And we make you uncomfortable.
It's why you love to vote as prom king.
Do you remember us on Monday?
You are afraid to see us fail. It's why you place us in jobs
with few challenges.
we make you nervous.
So you do really silly things.
Like talking louder.
To someone who's blind.
Now, think about that.
And then take a deep breath.
Relax.
Relax.
Just be yourself.
Be you.
Just be cool.
Because most certainly,
I am.
I am. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
This guy is.
We are. Help us celebrate Indiana Disability Awareness Month just by being you.
Please show your support by sharing this video.
And we are back with you with the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report. And with our guest, we have today the privilege, once again, of having Representative Gregory Porter. Representative, I want to thank you once again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and share with your community and our statewide community at large regarding the National Federation of the Blind Newsline and a lot of other information that we were going to share during this program.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us. We're very excited about being here with you. And I just want to first say thank you to you and Florence for all the work that you've done in educating members of the General Assembly, particularly myself and my predecessor, in regards to the Newsline and what it means to our people within the state of Indiana. Sometimes people don't understand we have these quote-unquote high-power lobbyists, as people think, coming, but you know what? It's the people on the front line, the individuals like you who live it every day, who experience it, and people talk to them, and then you relay that information to us. And the both of you, and my workings with you over the last few years has been remarkable, because I've learned so much, and your advocacy for your friends and the population that we all serve in the Newsline has been very incredible. So I just want to publicly thank the both of you for all your hard work over the years.
Well, it's a team all the way from Baltimore, from our national president, Mark Riccobono, to our Newsline persons chaired by Mr. Scott White in Baltimore, yes, and the great team there that keeps this rolling for us. We keep adding publications each year to the state of Indiana. We've recently added the Anderson publication as well as Columbus, Indiana. Those individuals there can now read their publications, and we have over 16 different publications throughout the state of Indiana now, where individuals can, access their news and their surrounding counties' news. So we're working diligently to make sure that these appropriations are used in the manner that it was requested for.
Great.
Individuals can also go to our nfbnewsline-in.org and find out more about what's going on within the state of Indiana. And when you use the service, you receive your credentials through us. You'll receive a phone call from Florence Myers McSwine to make sure that you can use the service. You can visit our office and come in and get hands-on. If you need hands-on training on the service, we send out information with DISC on how to use the service. There's also a tutorial included into the package. Once you call in the service, you can go to the tutorial. And the oldest person that I've trained on NFB Newsline was a 96-year-old retired veteran that was once a dentist. And he picked this up and he started using it within 5 minutes. He was using the service, so you see how easy it is to use. And you can also go to our state information channel on the service and learn more about our legislators, learn more about what's going on within the disabled community, all the different agencies that are out there, and some of the upcoming events and things that are going on within the community throughout the state. So it's a plethora of information right there at your fingertips. You can use it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, free, F-R-E-E, free. So I can't see why you don't want to use such a service.
Yeah,
you know,
I understand.
So tell us, Representative, what are some of the hot topics going on right now in the state of Indiana?
Well, we just came out of our session probably about 8 weeks ago, and of course, there's always incomplete business. And so some of the hot topics that we have been working on that most of your listeners and viewers will hear will be what we did in the one-day special session dealing with taxes and align our tax base with the federal government and try to see what our state would benefit from the new tax laws that were established the latter part of 2017. We're going to begin to look at the summer study committees, trying to figure out what type of legislation will be forthcoming for the 121st General Assembly that starts in 2019. And some of those topics will be, equal pay for women in particular, because, I'm a social type issue type guy. Looking at figuring out what we're going to do about bias crime / hate crime legislation, okay? Because, some of the people that are really impacted by that is not necessarily people of color or LGBTQ, but people with disabilities. And see, that's a lost category that happens with regards to bias crime and hate crimes, in the state of Indiana. We're one of 5 states that don't have hate crime legislation. But I think one thing that people really need to understand is that it's about people who are deaf, visually impaired, or people with special needs are affected tremendously by it because you have a bias. And it doesn't have to be physical, but it's a mental bias. That's right. And to me, any type of bias is a crime.
That's right.
So so I think that's something that we're going to continue to push for all people in the state of Indiana, as well as looking at the budget for next year and try to get more money for the Newsline. I think that's what you might want to hear. And we're at $125,000 per year now. We would like to move it up, give more opportunities. We have 92 counties, and 72 of those counties are rural. We have population throughout these state of Indiana. And you mentioned Anderson and Columbus. Well, that's about 12 to 15, but we need more access. And that's what that'll be on our radar screen, to have more access for individuals in regards to utilizing and taking advantage of the Newsline and growing that Newsline for people.
Well, you brought up some great issues there, particularly the disparity of people with disabilities being included into the mainstream flow of our societies. We know that we strive, as many agencies and organizations throughout the state and around the country, to be inclusive, to break down some of those barriers. And oftentimes, a lot of those barriers, they've been embedded into our society. And since losing my sight 17 years ago, I've encountered a number of discriminatory acts, not only with myself, but with people with disabilities. And being a part of the Governor's Planning Council for Persons with Disabilities and an advocate with the National Federation of the Blind, I'm glad to be able to be used as a tool to convey and try to change some of these mindsets. We're dealing with a lot of issues, which basically comes down to human rights issues.
Exactly, exactly.
When people are confronted with lack of education, the lack of tools, access to technology, Affordability Act that we have right now. The technology may be out there for individuals, but when you have a 75% unemployment rate, and it's probably a lot higher in some pockets of the country of individuals with disabilities and those with blindness, they can't get the jobs. And we talked about jobs and transitioning into meaningful employment where individuals no longer have to be subject to sub-minimum wages. There's individuals with disabilities now that are confronted with being paid pennies on the dollar as to what their quote-unquote normal peers are.
Right, and that's truly economic injustice there, because we always continue to try to find equity in regards to pay, to participation, to involvement, and to be included in the state of Indiana or across these United States. So that is something that's ongoing. You have to continue to strive to address those issues because people get amnesia. And sometimes they do it on purpose, because if you're not there, if you and Florence are not downtown at the State House, along with your other colleagues, talking about the issues that affect our community, particularly your particular community, we kind of just dismiss it. The old saying, out of sight, out of mind. Okay. So visually, if you're not there, people forget, and they just say, oh wow, we didn't see them. We forgot about that. We forgot about that population. And so it's incumbent for us to keep our foot on the pedal, to move forward and be on the right side of being inclusive of our society.
I'm Danny Wayne Beamer, Program Manager of the Elder Blind Program at the Will Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I introduce the NFB Newsline to seniors in 13 southwestern counties in Indiana. I also utilize the NFB Newsline for my radio station public affairs shows. The NFB Newsline. Experience it today.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
I am a blind vendor, and one of the things that I truly miss is reading Vending Times magazine.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
It is a fantastic service.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. Welcome back for those of you that have been watching us and those that are joining us here on the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. And we have a special guest with us today. And once again, we want to thank you, Representative Gregory Porter, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sharing information with us.
It's our pleasure. Yes, sir.
We want to talk a little bit more about literacy and in our communities for those with disabilities, and as well as just literacy as a whole. So let's get started on it.
Okay, let's get started. The key thing is Newsline. That just tells the whole story. That capsulizes everything. It's a Newsline, literacy, and I think that's important to not only to special needs community, but to all of us. And when we talk about literacy, what does that really mean? And it's literacy and comprehension, because we can, you can read or you can do things, but you got to also understand what's going on with that. I remember years ago we did American Sign Language as a part of a foreign language. The students could take it as part of foreign language now to go toward their language requirements for high school. You know, Braille, talking to you in Florence, is not. That may be something that we need to look at because, as you know, as we move forward, there are students that need Braille, you know, learn the art of Braille. And I think that's something that we should entertain and move forward and advocate for it because it's doing what? It's to continue to bridge the gap of opportunity. And, you know, if we want to achieve a lot, and we got to have literacy to achieve, but in order to achieve that gap, you know, we have to have the opportunity. So we need to close that gap in regards to the visually impaired and blind community.
Yeah, because we have people that would argue that with the technologies of today that, you know, Braille is no longer necessary or required. But we as the National Organization of the Blind know that Braille readers are leaders, and reading is still fundamental in whatever format that you want to acquire it in. You should have it available to you. Because, you know, we were talking about earlier off air about, you know, accessing technology and making it affordable. Because, it, you know, once again, with 75% unemployment rate in the blind community, individuals can't afford the iPhone. They can't afford the smart glasses that we have, you know, through the IRA programs and things of that nature, which are very essential. You know, to me, I use those a lot. And, you know, I'm blessed to be able to afford them. But then for a lot of my peers and a lot of our youth, these families cannot afford these devices. And we're trying to make sure that everyone is included and have the tools that they can have in their hands to, from K through 12 and into secondary education to see that they can be successful.
Yeah, and Lee, I think you make a poignant comment when you say, you know, some people say they don't think the technology is so advanced, we don't need it anymore. Well, you know, then on the other side, you have people argue, we talk about education, one size doesn't fit all, okay? And so when you talk about, you know, Braille and other opportunities, Florence, one size doesn't fit all. So you have to have options. We talk about education options all the time. We talk about choice and those type of things, you know. So why not continue to have the choice, the options, to utilize the best mode of education that one has? Because my way of educating my children, myself, or opportunity is not the same way Lee or Florence would do their kids. So we need to have that option out there, and I think it's very important. And we have to advocate for that, and we cannot back down. Because you're right, there would be people to say, oh, well, we have technology, we have smart glasses, we have smart this, we have smart that, but do we all have the smart money?
That's right.
Okay? To achieve those goals, they have the best that we can for my children or my constituency or my you know, the people within my community. And that is very important and very compelling statement.
Well, you know, there's so many issues out there, and one of the issues that we have going around the country right now is with our parenting rights. Parenting rights of parents with blind children, parents that are, you know, that are blind, that have families. Oftentimes, you know, the law of privacy doesn't allow us to find out or have statistics on parents that are actually being denied the right to raise their own children. We've noticed that is on the increase around the country. And there's been legislation in 10 states right now for the parenting rights bill for blind parents. In St. Louis, for instance, there were a parent that was denied their child because of their blindness, a misperception of the condition. And I've heard from one agency here in the state of Indiana about a parent being denied their rights. But, you know, due to disclosure, we can't really find out, well, you know, the statistics on that, or you know, how would you, what would you recommend for us to do regarding that to get Indiana a parenting rights bill?
Well, you've made the first step by letting me know, because a lot of legislation, people think that legislators just make up these laws themselves or these issues. It comes from you, from our constituents. And this is something that I'm not aware of. And I would venture to say, Lee, no one in General Assembly really has picked up on it, because we haven't done what, we haven't lived it. Mm-hmm. And until we live it, or someone close to us has been impacted by legislation, or been impacted by an issue, we don't really focus on that issue. Now, with you saying that 10 states have done it, and you know, we do have other bills talk about parental rights, grandparents' rights, and other rights, but we never have focused on the rights of visually impaired parents, because we didn't know it was an issue. And so what we've done is let it known now to me and to the audience, and now we'll begin to talk about it legislatively and do some research and see where we can go with that. But and then we can look at it with the ARC of Indiana, other groups out there, National Federation for the Blind, and say this is our legislative agenda. What you're doing is setting your legislative agenda. Your legislative agenda was to have the Newsline, to generate more dollars for that, to open it up to more communities. Now we have this agenda, and this can be part of your legislative agenda, Lee and Florence.
Well, we want to thank you once again for all your guidance and all your due diligence to your community over the years. And, you know, you're a spiritually led man, and I feel it, and I, you know, just admire you. And we're going to take a short pause and come back and wrap up this program, and we'll see you all shortly.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people, because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
This has been a very great show, and we want to thank you all for joining us again. So once again, thank you very much, Representative Gregory Porter.
So again, Representative Porter, thank you for what you do in our community.
Right. We appreciate both of you, and you know, as we walk to advocate and to legislate, we walk hand in hand, but we're gonna walk together, because together we will have a positive change for our constituents.
So we're not going to disappear from WHMB 40 anytime soon, so join us next week. Stay blessed and be kind to your neighbor.
The National Federation of the Blind Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 855-963-6476. That's 855-963-6476. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.